Jai Ma Kamakhya, Jai Matara, Jai Bhairava. So today I will be speaking about a very specific type of sadhana with respect to Kartikeya. I had made a video on Kartikeya Upasana, and people who are close to me also do that sadhana, and it's very effective and useful. Among the Devatas who are more closer to us in the physical plane, Kartikeya is one of them. He is the essence of all that is Shiva. All the essence of the Rudras, all the essence of the Shiva Tattva is contained within him. So that is why, in a way, he is the Shiva is vast, his all encompassing, that type of vast. Whereas the essence of the whole Shiva Tattva, if it is contained within one Devata, then it is Kartikeya. Most ideally. He is also, as we know, the general of the divine army. And till at least, I think, 7th, 8th century, Kartikeya Upasana was quite popular across India, and also not just in across means the even North India and outside of India also in the Central Asian parts. But eventually it get confined and turned more into the bhakti mode of Upasana of Kartikeya and remains confined today largely in South. However, there is no doubt about it that for certain people and specifically for certain kinds of graha combinations, Kartikeya Upasana is extremely potent and useful and brings about very quick and fast results. In the Nath Sampradaya, they have the idea of the Veeras, who Nath Sampradaya Puja of Shakti, when it happens, they also worship a Veera along with it, which is each of these Veeras are modeled around the various primary devatas that we have. For example, something can be modeled around Hanuman, something around Narsimha. Similarly, there is something modeled around Kartikeya also. So, but we will not talk about the worship of Veera here. We'll talk about the actual Upasana of Kartikeya, simplistic Upasana. So, when you read the texts on Kartikeya and the various kinds of texts that are available to us, thankfully we live in times where it's easy to get access to texts, and if somebody is interested, he or she can read them. Don't be in a hurry. Read them, read, practice. Only then you will understand what is the import of various injunctions in the text. So, for example, the Kumara Tantram, which is a kind of a very authoritative text on Kartikeya Upasana, is categorical that there are two types of the worship. One is for own individual self. That worship can be done by anybody who has been instructed on basics of Kartikeya Upasana. Whereas when Kartikeya Upasana, Kartikeya Puja is to be done in the temple, then there is a specific criteria of priests who can do it. Not everybody is qualified to do those kind of pujas. Okay, ideally it is to be done by the Adishaivas, and those who have the Acharya Abhisheka, only they should be able to do. And there are a lot of other niyamas that have to be followed, the number of abhishekams, the kind of naivedyas, the utsavams that have to be done, etc., in order that the energy is well established, and not just established, it benefits pretty much everybody who is around that space. So that is the primary aim of temple upasana. Temple upasana is not specifically to fulfill goals of individuals, but to maintain the balance of the positive dharma around that space. And for temples which are extremely powerful, it can help maintain the balance of dharma in a whole country itself for really powerful temples. So that is a different aspect altogether. But what I am talking about here, and also what I had spoken about in a previous video, is uh, on the individualistic upasana of Kartikeya. It's possible to do simple sadhana of Kartikeya with keeping a small veil. Preferably, if you have a Karungali veil, then it's very good to keep. These days, it's easily available. It's black in color, and it's extremely good in removing negatives. Few rules have to be kept in mind. One is that the cleanliness is absolutely important for Kartikeya Upasana. So one should sit only after the right rituals of after taking a bath, being completely clean, and then doing Achmanam, Bhuta Shuddhi of that space for a uh, normal temple where the veil, a small veil, it cannot be a large one, because the larger the veil, the more amount of upasana needs to be done. But even for a small one, if you keep it placed in your puja space, ensure that you only do the puja when you are in a very clean state. That is extremely important for Kartikeya Upasana. Number two, it is important that the aesthetics is maintained properly. So there should be some bit of ashtagandha, kumkum, or akshat, etc., and some flowers to be put on the veil. And the simple āṣṭottara nama of Kartikeya can be done, which is extremely potent. As I said, Kartikeya uh, is one of those devatas who is closer to us in the physical plane. And deities who are closer to us respond faster. So if somebody very simply keeps worshipping the veil with the āṣṭottara of Kartikeya and doing archana on the veil with akshat, vibhuti, and flowers, these three things, and continues doing the Kartikeya āṣṭottara nama every day, and it should be done preferably in the morning. Mornings are the best time. And it is continued for a period of 48 days, it is inevitably going to bring about a very strong positive results. So one of the things, not just a positive result, in fact, it brings about a wide range of effects. I mean, the texts mention that simple upasana veil can remove doshas, graha doshas, can remove vignas that an individual may be facing, can neutralize enemies. Shatrunasham also happens. It depends on the degree of the affliction that one is already facing. And definitely, and most importantly, one of the things it does is to increase self-confidence in individual. Especially if someone is low, someone is confused, someone is not sure, then worship of the veil brings like an injection of Shakti into the Upasaka. Why does this happen? Because that veil or the sphere that Kartikeya holds is a gift from Parashakti to Kartikeya to Kumaram, so that he can maintain the order and the dharma of this world. Whatever negative needs to be destroyed, the asuras that need to be destroyed, he will destroy, and whatever positives needs to be established, that he will do. And because of this reason, he is known as the Deva Senapati. He is the lord of the armies, divine armies. A very interesting method of meditation, if somebody is doing the Vel Upasana, and there are people who have been doing the simple Vel Upasana that I mentioned. So when you're doing the Vel Upasana, you consider the veil as good as Kartikeya. Having the veil and having Kartikeya established is the same thing. So the veil has few properties. One is that it comes from Parashakti. It has the power, the effulgence of a million suns. It's that bright, that conscious, that fearless, and that spontaneous, that terrific amount of power it has. So as one keeps meditating, so when you're doing the archana on the veil with the āṣṭottara nama, or even with the mantra Om Sharanava, if you do the simple Shadakshari mantra, but always add the Omkara before it, because eventually when Kartikeya Upasana matures in an individual, matures means it goes to the highest extreme point, then one automatically enters into the state of Advaitam. He goes deep inside into the Atman, and from that state, the Upasaka can see everything, his own past, things of the past, present, future, the three phases of time, the karmic tie ups, everything, and remain completely unattached. It's almost like if you read the Sankhya philosophy, the conception of the Purusha Tatva as opposed to the Shakti. The Purusha is completely detached but observing, like a witness consciousness, Sakshi Bhava. That state comes into the Upasaka when the most highest realization of skandha happens to a Upasaka. But this can only happen if he blesses you. You cannot just enter into that state at will, obviously, because the state of Advaitam is the highest of all states. When one reaches the Atman, his own self, then that is the maximum state that you can reach physically. It brings about an absolute peace. It brings about a state where there is no stress on anything. But at the same time, there is also a fire. Some of the Upanishads describe it as like a lamp burning in a room without wind, which means that there's a constant flame, there's no flickering, there's no changing. It is not that it shifts from one to the other. That constancy is a terrific and a very powerful attribute of the state of the Atman. So when one realizes the Atman and the mind completely calms down, because the mind is Shakti, the normal mind is ignorant Shakti, avidya Shakti. When the mind gets transformed, when you're doing sadhana, you're transforming the mind. When the mind gets transformed completely, then it becomes Vidya Shakti. Then you see the world through a different perspective. That is the Shakti that we are worshipping. That's only a small portion of the Mahamaya whom we worship, by whatever name you call her. When you're worshipping Kartikeya, your mind starts transforming. When you're worshipping the veil, your mind starts transforming. So the Atman that is inside the heart, deep inside the Vishnu Granthi, that is Guha, that is Skandha, that is Kartikeya, that is born from the yuti of Shiva and Shakti, and that comes down into the physical plane, undergoes the process of birth and rebirth. It is the same Atman which is described in the Gita as the one that takes on bodies like a clothing, and then on death it gives up the body and goes to the next cycle of birth. It has the absolute and maximum knowledge. There is nothing that is more organically more knowledgeable than the Atman. And organically means it is not a textbook knowledge, it's something that it knows. Once you reach the state of the Atman, anybody who reaches the state of the Atman, whether he is an unlettered individual, will also attain the wisdom that is there in the Atman. And this is a knowledge that we have in our own culture across generations, centuries, have appreciated that. And that is why we bow down to Mahapurushas who have attained to the state of the Atman, regardless of whatever their qualifications might be. But what exactly is the veil? What exactly is the Parashakti? To the Upasaka, his own mind is the Parashakti. As one keeps worshipping the veil, the mind becomes sharper. The concentration power becomes very tikshna, becomes very, very uh, acute. And as the concentration becomes acute, the mind becomes more single pointed. Instead of a distracted mind is an ignorant mind. It cannot hold on to a thought. It does not know what to do. It a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It is not able to progress. So the first thing that when the blessings of the veil comes to an individual, the mind becomes single pointed. The depth of concentration increases. As the depth of concentration increases, immediately it causes an illumination in the mind. So therefore, it's like as if Kartikeya or Guha, who sits in the cave of the heart, holds the sphere of the veil of the mind, and wherever he directs the weapon, whatever is the topic, whatever is the subject, you will be able to penetrate into the mysteries of that particular topic and gain all knowledge. And knowledge is power. Once that knowledge comes to an Upasaka, he or she has the power over that thing. You can destroy a negative thing if you know what that negative is. So that absolute power, and it also reduces fear completely, because uh, this explanation that I'm giving is all verbal, but once you do this sadhana, once you start meditating on the veil in front of you while doing the archana, you finish the archana with either with the āṣṭottara nama or with the mantra, basic mantra, shadakshari mantra, with the omkara added in front, and after that meditate on the veil, meditate on the tip of the veil. That will develop the concentration power of the Upasaka. Once that concentration comes, it brings about a tremendous strength inside, and there is nothing that it cannot do. There is no obstacle that it cannot break. There is no negative that it cannot destroy. In fact, uh, if one keeps such a veil with oneself, even a small veil, and does a little bit of puja, and then carries the veil along with him or her wherever they're going. But remember that if for women specifically, you cannot touch the veil when you are in your periods, because the Acharam is very strict when it comes to Kartikeya Upasana. 90% of the time. 10% there's a different process. In case somebody is in the Kolo Marga, there is a slightly different method in which Upasana can be done, but that is not for the general public. That is only when you have the blessings of Tripura Mahasundari, or when you have the blessings of Tripur Sundari, or any of the Parashakti forms of the Mahavidya. The blessings has to be there, which means that you know how to do the puja and you have a diksha doesn't mean automatically that translates into an actual blessing from the goddess. These two are different things. Anyway, coming back to the main thing that I was saying. So for anybody else, the upasana of the veil, small Karungali veil, if you keep doing it, gathers power. When it gathers power, if you carry it with you in a very difficult situation, something that is stressful, or in a negative environment, it is going to protect you from anything. It has the power to dissolve all kinds of karmas. All kinds of karmas. It has the power to destroy any kind of asuric attack. It has the power to destroy any kind of mantric attacks also. If somebody is doing a mantra prayoga on you, the veil can dissolve the vibration of that mantra. But it has to be charged. The charging of the veil is very simple by this process. Follow discipline, extreme discipline, because remember that Kartikeya is the original Devata of Mars. Mars is also Kumaram, Kartikeya is also Kumaram. Much higher vibration of Mars is Kartikeya. Every other deity that will link with Mars over time through Jyotisha, whether it's Hanuman or Narasimha, etc., they all came in later as a link to Mars. But the primary link of Mangala, of the Graha, Mangal Graha, is with Kartikeya. He is the absolute Lord of Mars, complete and full and perfect Lord of Mars. So, in that sense, as one does, one of the things that brings Mars under control is discipline. Anybody who lacks discipline automatically causes, or rather disturbs, his own Mars in the horoscope. So discipline is extremely important. Cleanliness is extremely important when doing the sadhana. Aesthetics is also important. Remember that there are two things that we know Kartikeya for, which is one of them is that he's also considered as the most beautiful of all gods, devatas, and that idea is present both in places, say even in rural Bengal, where Kartikeya Upasana is still popular in places, though the veil, instead of the veil, there is the bow and arrow that is there, or even in Tamil Nadu and other areas where Kartikeya is worshipped, the idea that he is a very beautiful deity is always present. This actually is a Lokika way of mentioning that he has tremendous amount of Sammohana Shakti. When Kartikeya blesses somebody, you have mad amount of following of that individual. It's like those film stars that you see in the south, people go crazy about them. That kind of following can come through Kartikeya's blessing. On the other hand, he is also the Deva Senapati. So when he is into battle, he is very, very serious. That time there is no jokes, there are no, no laughing, there is no comedy. Everything becomes extremely serious. That air of the depth in the air changes when he manifests in a space as the general of the army in that mode. It's as if something becomes, the word Gambhira becomes very important at that state. There are no jokes, there are no lies, everything is very serious. The Upasaka also needs to attain that kind of, to a degree, that kind of seriousness when he's doing Kartikeya Upasana. He likes that mode, he likes that seriousness, he likes that discipline. And in that manner, the Upasaka imbibes the power, a little bit of the power of the veil, and that itself is extremely protective. When the veil is established or kept physically close to the Upasaka veil that has been charged, it keeps protecting him from any kind of negatives, and that includes even negatives where, these days we hear a lot about nazar dosh and all those things, etc. The veil protects you completely and absolutely, provided you have been doing the veil upasana correctly, and nothing complicated. Just what I have said. You need not go into very complex Kartikeya mantras or even the Trishati, which is used to destroy Shatrus and all that. No need of all that. Even the simple āṣṭottara nama or the simple Shadakshari mantra with Omkara added in front is good enough if you keep doing it every day in a disciplined manner without fail, and do Abhishekam of the veil using Ashtagandha, using Akshata, using flowers, and a little bit of fresh vibhuti mixed together. And eventually, if you keep doing Abhishekam on the veil, you collect those ingredients later and you can keep them, tie them in a cloth and keep it somewhere important, maybe in a puja space or maybe where you keep money, etc. And it's going to attract positivity, prosperity, and remove negatives. For people who are suffering from diseases, also this can be used, same method can be used. And those, after doing Abhishekam, the vibhuti and all that, little bit can be mixed in water and then consumed by the person suffering from whatever disease he or she may be. So remember that the veil, as the veil develops power, it transforms the mind of the Upasaka from the scattered, ignorant, useless mind which is frittering away its power, to a more gathered, concentrated, and a powerful force of nature. The veil of Parashakti becomes the transformed human mind. And that is why there are texts which also describe the veil as Gyaanashakti. Jnana comes from the mind, a mind that is transformed and in control of the soul, of the Atman, is a formidable weapon. And after you finish the Abhishekam, meditate on the tip of the veil. Meditate for 5 minutes if possible on the tip of the veil. It will develop your concentration power like leaps and bounds. Oh, and one more thing, whenever you are worshipping the veil, always light a diya. That is important. A diya is very important. Wherever Kartikeya Upasana has to be done, remember that Kartikeya is born in the nakshatra of Kritika. There are 4 or 5 very fierce nakshatras. In normal Jyotisha, people get scared of those nakshatras. But when doing Tantra Sadhana, Ugra Sadhana, those nakshatras are the most ideally suited for these upasanas. Whether uh, one does, Ugra Devata Upasana specifically. So Kartikeya is born in Kritika. Kritika is also the nakshatra of Agni. So whenever Kartikeya Puja is done, a little bit of lamp has to be lit to Kartikeya. And it increases the potency and the power of the sadhana that is being done. So that is the importance of the veil. Apart from the veil, we also have the Mayura, one of the Vahanas of Kartikeya, whose role it is to remove all kinds of shatrus and enemies and provide victory to the Upasaka. That is why this specific bird is chosen, because it's a bird that contains a very beautiful plumage. There's a very beautiful color and very striking on the consciousness. It brings victory and it removes negatives, removes jealousy, removes people who are planning various things. So both of them, both the veil and the Mayura, are destroyers of Shatrus. Both of them do Shatrunash, but in a different manner, different types of enemies. The Mayura removes those who are jealous of you, those who are planning, conspiring against you, and things like that. Whereas the effect of the veil is that it can go at a distance. So even if there are people far off and planning something, even if there are great shatrus, that's when the veil is activated. But in order to activate the veil, one has to do this sadhana. And then the blessings of Bhagavan Kartikeya, the blessings of the veil, protects one from all sides, from every direction, from every kind of negative, be it a physical threat, be it a subtle threat, be it some kind of negative energy, negative prayoga, negative kriya that is being done. It can destroy anything and everything. Turn it around and put it back into the into the whoever is that is sending it to you. Once a person gets very accustomed to and very proficient in the upasana of Kartikeya, then Kartikeya Upasana can be clubbed with Devi Upasana, and that becomes like a nuclear bomb. But that I will mention maybe later on some other video. This is only for the basics of Kartikeya Upasana, because I do feel that there are quite a few people who need to do Kartikeya Upasana, and that will automatically, especially when you are down, especially when you are confused, Even a small amount of Kartikeya Upasana, even one mandala of Upasana of the Kartikeya with a small veil, will bring you such terrific energy into your life that all pending tasks, all things that you have been procrastinating, all obstacles will be completely obliterated from your path. That is the beauty of this sadhana. Jai Ma Kamakhya, Jai Ma Tara, Jai Bhairava.